Namaste, namaskaram, vanakkam, namo namaha. Jai Ganesh, and to our non-Hindu friends that are listening, this is really for hopefully all of us today to reflect a bit on some recent tragic events. But in life you could say that almost any day of the year. So it's an attempt to present a message, not really focusing on the messenger, but a message of seeking for a balanced life. And there are many ways to do that. Just as there's many ways to climb a mountain, and not all ways are the same, and some may not go all the way. And that's up to each person to discern how they wish to travel through life. But there's a great deal of sense in seeking a balanced life. And if we play with the word a little bit, the Sanskrit Hindu word bala means youth, and nice, NCE, we could say that living a balanced life is learning to play nice, developing a good sense of sportsmanship, playing the many games of life that we humans have created. So it makes a great deal of sense to seek a circular, balanced, centered life, as opposed to a linear, extreme, skewed life. Think of those words and their antonyms: circular or linear, balanced or extreme, centered or skewed. So a balanced life is recognizing the wisdom of being centered, realizing the necessity and inevitability of the two sides. To be centered is to find equilibrium in one's life. Sattva to the Hindus. We sing a song, Sada Lola Hara Namah Shivaya, the truth, Sada, of the swing, Lola, of life. As we go from one extreme to the other, perhaps, one side to the other. And all of this is Hara. It's destroying our ignorance. It's teaching us vital life lessons, for it's a work in progress. And just like, for example, the gymnast on the balance beam, interesting word, beam, light, enlightenment. In light we're meant to be living a life of light or buoyancy, joyful, youthful, innate qualities that, if everyone's honest, they're seeking to one degree or another. Watch these gymnasts as they go through the process of swaying and sometimes falling on one side or the other. Being balanced or centered demands focus, or developing one's aim. Talk about more of that as we proceed. Thereby hitting the mark or the target or the bullseye. The bindi or the bindu to the Hindus, the mark of the Hindu, the red dot. This third eye point is centered between the right and the left eyes. In the Hindu yoga dharma, or religion, we explore the right and left brain hemispheres, which fully concurs with neuroscience. This Hindu science often called Kundalini Yoga, which is actually the outcome of striving to live, in this case, a balanced Hindu sattvic life. But of course, this is not just for Hindus, but simply the way Hindus express this human search for living a balanced life. A diagonal flow is integral to a balanced life. So too to the circle. The diagonal movement is found within the circle. We often move through the world on circles, be it roller skates, skateboards, bicycles, cars, etc. All the circular wheels are supported by a center, a hub, and often linear spokes. Do we see here the wisdom of the binary system, the 1 and the 0? Remember, folks, it were the Hindus that came up with the 0 concept, without which we wouldn't be communicating right now. The binary system, the mystical no-thingness, not nothing, but no-thingness. We could say of absolute peace. Think of the absolute no-thingness of deep, refreshing, energizing sleep. Regarding this diagonal flow, take a walk and observe this diagonal flow. Left, right, repeat. This flow creates balance, which is also reflected in one's feelings and a sense of energized and calm balance. What happens with the mind and emotions when we take a walk? Back to Kundalini Yoga and the recognition of, by neuroscience, of the left and right brain hemispheres connected by the developing corpus callosum. It is a fact that the left brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side. Hence the diagonal movement, which creates balance, equilibrium, or sattva to the Hindus. Now the left brain, Pingala to the Hindus, is considered the masculine side, while the right brain hemisphere, the feminine, or Idda to the Hindus, is associated with the more feminine characteristics. In other words, in a very real sense, mentally and emotionally, we humans are non-binary. Of course, physically, biologically, and rationally, one recognizes the human logic of the natural binary physically. Wow, would this reality calm the storm of the clash of the binary and the spectrum points of view? In other words, mentally and emotionally, we are all on a spectrum. And it is this understanding that will eventually lead to a balanced life. Having swayed from one side to the other, one finds their center or life's balance beam. A beam, a glow, a state of enlightenment, if you will. Now, moving through time like a pendulum, one lives a balanced life by also knowing when to go right and when to go left, when to conserve and when to be liberal. Remember, fellow human beings, there is no right without left, and no left without right. See how extremist language keeps us in constant conflict, constantly off balance? So too do we need to know when to employ the masculine and the feminine qualities within all of us. For example, let's consider left brain, masculine qualities, analytical, logical, rational, thinking area. All positive qualities that one should seek, whether a male or a female biologically. So too, positive right ida, feminine brain qualities, soft, intuitive, gentle, creative, spontaneous, often seen as the more spiritual side, perhaps. All qualities that we have to one degree or another, whether biologically we are in the binary of male or female. You see how working together brings a positive, balanced life? In other words, knowing when to be analytical, logical, rational, thinking. And religious. This is the religious area. Rules, regulations, rituals. And when to be soft and gentle, creative, spontaneous. We could say the spiritual side, but remember, you need both. The spiritual is the more incorporeal, literally, while religion are the rules, the regulations, and the rituals. This is a balanced life. Now, it's wise to consider that there are also negatives to this masculine and the feminine brains, that if we're honest, whether we're in the body of a man or a woman, we've all experienced to one degree or another. For example, a very negative left brain, Pingala, male qualities are hard, crude, mean, intolerant, violent. While negative feminine qualities, cold, indifferent, erratic emotional highs and lows, depression, anxiety. Can we all relate to all of these? Does it not make sense to stay out of the basement consciousness, if you will, of the left and right brain? Actually, this is developing that center connecting device of the corpus callosum so that one can adroitly go from the positive left and right brain experiences. In other words, again, knowing when to go left, when to go right, when to conserve, when to be liberal. Seems logical, but obviously in societies, it's clear that there are so many that still have the divisive language of me against you, me-ism, if you will. So let's look at our aim in life, this balance point, this centered point, the third eye point to the Hindus, the Bindu. It takes a warrior spirit to realize that. And in the Hindu yoga religion, Hindu Dharma, we look at our heart as the place wherein reside, either symbolically or in actuality within oneself, all the youthful, loving warriors reminding us to seek those three things in life. To be a youthful, loving warrior. Got to be all three. If we're a warrior without love, then we just become a brute. And if we have kind of a mushy, emotional kind of love without a warrior spirit, right? Then we enter into erratic emotional highs and lows often. Youthful, loving, warrior spirit. But it takes practice, just like the gymnasts. They're in that gym every day. We only see them on the stage at competition time, but every day they're in the gym practicing, falling from one extreme to the one side to the other, swaying one side to the other. Namrasada, Lula, Hara. And it's teaching them to eventually find that balance in the center, living a balanced life. Remember, in the classic Karate Kid, remember, a warrior again. But in ancient times, and hopefully still today, a true warrior, a true sportsman, plays fair. They don't seek retaliation, they don't spit on each other. They play the game. And in the games of life, right, there are winners and losers. But in the ultimate games, we want to seek win-win, as Stephen Covey points out in his 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. In these more profound games of life, if you will. We want to seek win-win in relationship, deep, profound relationships. Win-win. It's got to be good for you. It's got to be good for me. So we develop our aim, the warrior spirit. In the Rig Veda for the Hindus, Puram Bindu Vajri Purush Tutaha. Sometimes the Hindus would call themselves Bindus because that's the mark of the Hindu, the red dot, the rising, if you will, sun, El Sol within. Puram Bindu Vajri Purush Tutaha. Ancient Puram, Bindu into Hindu. Soulful warrior. Puram Bindu Vajri Purush Tutaha. Ancient Bindu into Hindu. Soulful warrior. So, the target, the aim, the balanced life, the sattvic life, equilibrium, third eye, point, utilizing the wisdom of the other two eyes of right and left, diagonal flow. We strive continually to hit the mark, to hit the target, to develop our aim through practice, practice, practice. Again and again. Dosa drista mahor bahuha. See our defects again and again and again. Actually, very interestingly, the English word aim in Sanskrit is pronounced aim, A-I-M, and it's actually what we call the bija or seed mantra for the female deity, as we respect both male and female, Ma Saraswati. And her very name literally means Saraswati, flow having, or having flow. In other words, we practice something so long that it becomes a natural flow. Again, watch these elite gymnasts. They've been practicing for decades and decades until they reach a beautiful flow. So too in all areas of life. The more effort one puts in, the more practice, one develops a flow. Watch a pianist, for example, who can look at you and smile and not even look at the keys. But what you don't see are the decades of hard work that went into that Saraswati, that flow, having flow in life. So let's continue to flow on and be self-purifying. That was the meaning of the word Hindu to the Hindus. Hindu is both the geographical place, the name of the people, Hindu, same thing, and the river. Flow on, self-purifying Hindu. Fellow human beings, flow on. Keep practicing. We have friends we walk the path with. But essentially we're all on this alone, but together, as we're hopefully seeking for a more enlightened life. So practice your aim. And looking at the English word aim, A-I-M, it's 3 letters, so we can make 6 different quote-unquote words, if you will. So let's develop our aim as we go from aim, 1, to ami, which is essentially all about me. Ami, A-M-I. Or my, again, all about me, my. Or M-I-A, Mia, Mia, again, all about me. Till we finally start to deeply ponder, I'm a what? And the final one is, I am. I am. Interestingly, was that not what in English was supposed to be the proclamation from on high, from Mount Sinai to Moses, when asked what the name was? I am. I am. Think of that, I am. Now, if we use a little combination here of secular English and the Sanskrit of the Hindus, I, we clearly know the I is about the ego I. The M, that's for many others. So is this not life itself? It's all about I as individuals, and we are encountered by the many that's all around us. Many people, many animals, many things. So we start out with the I in the middle, with our aim, as we practice. Yeah, recognize who we are, what we are. That's the aim. But as we go through this journey about Ami and Mai and Mia and Ima, then we finally put the A in the center, and then the ego I has its rightful place on one side, and the many or the others has its rightful place on the other side. So it's all about you as an individual respecting the many around you. But what's the A in the middle? Remember we said we're combining the secular language of English and the religious language of Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, the A stands for the inner essence. We call the Atmana. Some call it soul in the Western context. It's a little bit different. But the Atmana literally means not your mind. Amana is mind. Atmana, not your mind. It's your inner essence, which is temporarily inhabiting this body, mind, and emotions. And what is that inner essence? Using English, I think we could all agree that the inner essence of all of us is the experience of, obviously, energy, which, interestingly, can neither be created nor destroyed. It just is. Hard for the mind to wrap around that. It just is. The eternal nature of energy. It just is. And it transforms. That inner energy that's keeping us all alive. And then it's up to us what we do with that energy. We can shake someone's hand, do namaste, or we can hurt them. The inner essence of energy. We also have that inner quality of light. Watch the light that comes out of your eyes. The light that beams out of the child's eyes. The inner light. The light of inspiration, when you have a creative inner thought, hopefully a positive one. It's the same light, whether it's a positive thought or a negative thought, if you will. Again, it's what we do with that light. Do we use it to enliven, enlighten, or do we use it to blind someone and blind ourselves, actually? But importantly, light is also the feeling of lightness and joy and buoyancy, that eternal youth of that inner essence, which we can feel at any physical age. And then the third quality, love or bliss. The warmth of love. Love is a warm experience. This is the science of life. Energy and sound energy creates light. Light creates heat. This is the inner essence, that pure energy, which Hindus call Shakti. Again, respecting generalities and then specifics. When we use these specific Sanskrit words like yoga, energy, etc., that's all, honestly, the recognition of Hinduism. But we want to understand our fellow human beings, so we use the common language of English as well, but recognizing what it is. That energy, Shakti, the light we call Jyoti. And then the loving peace, Ananda Shanti. Energy, Shakti, light, Jyoti, and a loving peace, Shanti, Shanti, Ananda Shanti. This is the inner essence of all of us, is it not? We all have this energy, we all have this inner light, or we would not be now, you would not be seeing. And remember, there's all forms of light, the photon as well. And we all have this sense of love. But remember, that too can be misdirected. It can be selfish self-love, very egocentric love, which is really not the ultimate, is it not? So we are that inner essence, which Hindus call the Atmana, of pure energy and pure light and bliss or love, which we can misuse. We can misuse the energy and the light and the love. That's we often call young Atmanas and older Atmanas, or young souls and old souls. So we're all in this together, folks. So why not seek this aim in life? Keep working for a balanced life. Yes, we will sway from one side to the other. We will fall on one side or the other. But let's watch the way we speak to each other and not reinforce extremist language of right and left and conservative and liberal. Again, there's a time for both. So let's end by looking at a few ways in which our left and right brain, remember, inwardly, it's a non-binary. We are all using masculine and feminine qualities. Outwardly, again, it's binary. This is the logic. So the left brain often teaches the right brain teaches the left brain as we go through life in this diagonal walk, the journey of life. Does it not make sense to be able to confront each other, have dialogue, even confrontation, without being violent? That's why to Hindus the very first code of ethics is ahimsa, non-violence. So in non-violence, our right brain often teaches the left brain, don't be violent. Calm down. Does it not make sense to avoid anger? For anger often turns into violence. So here's where the right brain, again, often teaches the left brain, and vice versa. Sometimes the woman will teach the man not to be angry. Sometimes the man will have to calm the woman down. This is the man and the woman inside of us, our left and right brain, that internal battle. So too with disciplining our desires. Sometimes left has to discipline right. Right has to discipline left. We should avoid drunkenness. That means being drunk on anything. Drunk on our own ego, on power, on money. Obviously external substances, as left and right brain teach each other. The inner dialogue. That introspection that we all need to do. We should strive not to steal, which is often the right brain teaching the left brain. Not to lie. Right brain sometimes teaching the left brain. And not to lust. Again, excessive desire for anything in life. This in Hinduism is what we call our restraints, the yamas. It's a modified code. We have more severe codes, but it's a modified one. And then, with this work, we will seek a more centered or sattvic life as we cultivate niyama. We try to cultivate, as best we can, a purity of our body, mind, and speech. Speech is so important. Watch the way you talk. Watch the foul language. We seek now a contented life, santosha, saucha, santosha. We seek to live a more disciplined life, devotional life. Devotion is the key ingredient of life. Yes, it's how often religions are recognized, but devotion in general is the secret ingredient. Without devotion, we won't be successful in anything that we do in life, but our devotion has to be grounded in a sense of ethics. Otherwise, we'll be devoted to extremist positions, nefarious mindsets. We all need to continue to self-study, introspection, svadhyaya. And, again, coming full circle, through this aim process to I am, putting the Atmana at the center, and have your ego I in its own place, recognize your fellow human beings, etc., on the other side, coming from that center balance of realizing that all of us are that inner energy which we can put to good use if we choose. We are that inner light, hopefully the light of creativity to help ourselves and our fellow human beings and animals, the planet itself. And then that love, which we're all looking for, hopefully a mature love, not a selfish love, not a self-serving love, but that true blissful experience that sooner or later we'll tap into. Hopefully the everyday experiences will stimulate that, but often it takes the negative, violent experiences to bring us all together in a state of love, and maybe we forget it for a while and another experience happens. So remember, fellow human beings, that Sahara Lola Hara of love, the truth of the swing of life. We're all on this journey together, having experience after experience, going perhaps from one extreme to the other, till we finally find a balance in the middle. Watch humorously as people go from a fundamentalist to an atheist, from an atheist to a fundamentalist, back and forth, till we find a balance in the middle. A balanced life, a sattvic life. Remember, bala means youth, nice, NCE. So let's learn to be good sports. Let's learn to play nice, bala nice, a balanced life. Now, our Hindu rishi said thousands and thousands of years ago something that is just as relevant today. Let's go to the best of our ability from untruth to truth, asato ma sadgamaya. Always asking questions. Is it real? Is it logical? Does it make sense? Is it practical? Is it productive? And humbly recognize our ignorance in many areas of life as we're seeking a more enlightened life. Enlightened we're meant to be. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. And then perhaps understand the immortality of life itself. That sanatan, the eternal immortality of life itself, that shakti, that energy that simply transforms. This is one form. So we recognize an immortality in many ways of just the search. As we're all searching, reaching, striving for a more enlightened state of being, a more loving state of being. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. And along the way, why not seek peace? But it has to be a peace of strength, not a peace of weakness. And it has to be a peace of justice, not injustice. So Hindus always end with peace, 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 or shanti, shanti, shantihi, om. Let's strive for a circular, balanced, centered life.